Well, good afternoon. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our 29th webinar in the Coffee With webinar series, sponsored by the Greenleaf Center for Servant Leadership here at Seton Hall University. I'm Reggie Lewis, the Executive Director of the Center, and it's great to greet all of you who logged on today from places around the United States to take part in our conversation with LaGrange College's premier leadership program, the Wilkinson Family Servant Scholars, which prepares the next generation of servant leaders by linking students with community leaders to address local needs. And in just a moment, the center's project manager, Gabby Cooper, and I will give a more formal introduction of today's guest. But first, a word about our webinar series and the center. The Coffee With series provides the center the chance to showcase the inspirational stories of servant leaders and the endless ways in which individuals and organizations can be transformed by the power of servant leadership, a philosophy in which the leader first seeks to serve. And I assure you, the servant scholars of LaGrange will not disappoint. For nearly 60 years, the Greenleaf Center has worked to promote the awareness, understanding, and practice of servant leadership for a more just and caring society. In addition to the Coffee With series, other core programs include the annual Public Policy Lecture, which features thought leaders and issue experts from a range of sectors who apply a servant leader's perspective to current public policy challenges. Our Greenleaf Scholars program funds researchers whose work promotes the efficacy and impact of servant leadership. We also expose high school and college students to opportunities to develop lives of service through our Next Generation initiative. And through our outside engagements portfolio, we proudly work closely with organizational partners around the country as they implement the practice of servant leadership throughout their workplace culture. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. We're thrilled to welcome today's guest from the LaGrange College community, Mr. Jerry Wilkinson, Professor Jeff Lukin, and our students, Mackenzie Hornsby and Parker Floyd. I'll begin with a brief intro of Mr. Wilkinson. Jerry Wilkinson is the founder and chairman of the Wilkinson Companies, a real estate investment and management firm, and a prominent philanthropist in the LaGrange, Georgia community. Mr. Wilkinson has been an incredible supporter of LaGrange College as a former Board of Trustees member and currently as the Servant Scholars Program benefactor. Next, we're excited to introduce Professor and former LaGrange, Georgia Mayor, Mr. Jeff Lukin. Prior to working at LaGrange College, Jeff was the owner and president of Lukin Chevrolet Oldsmobile in LaGrange for over 25 years. So to my audience, I'm still trying to work on Jeff to get me one of those Chevys. We'll see how successful I can be. Jeff was later a partner in the law firm of Kirby, Roberts, and Lukin PC. Today, Jeff is the esteemed director of the Wilkinson Family Servant Scholar Program and an assistant professor in political science at LaGrange College. Gabby?
First, we have Mackenzie Hornsby, who's from Reeltown, Alabama, and a senior at LaGrange College with a double major in psychological science and sociology, as well as a double minor in servant leadership and religion and philosophy. And last, but certainly not least, we have Parker Floyd, who is here with us today as well. Parker is from Peachtree City, Georgia, and is currently a senior at LaGrange College. She is majoring in political science with a minor in business and servant leadership.
All right. Are we all ready to kick things off? I've got some coffee over here. Anybody else with some coffee? And all right, beverages of choice. We'll start by exploring the category of the origins and the vision of this wonderful program. Mr. Wilkinson, if you would tell us what brought you to LaGrange and describe the connection you have with the community.
Thank you for having me. What an opportunity. And when I hear the word servant scholars and servants, it's just so gratifying. My history in LaGrange goes back many years. I'm in the real estate business. apartment business, and our first deal was in LaGrange. It turned out successful. It was a high-risk deal, high reward. Was just starting in the real estate business. Had a benefactor who believed in me, and we built 100 apartments in the 1980s, late 80s. Even before that, I'd been to LaGrange. Was in another business, plumbing supply business. LaGrange is just a neat community. It's had great history, great leadership. It welcomed outsiders. It welcomed businesses. It welcomed a full diversity of business. And immediately the center of the town is on the hill is LaGrange College. And my passion and background and has a lot to do with education. I was beneficiary of parents who grew up in East Tennessee. My dad did not go to college. My mom was an elementary school teacher in a rural school. There were 5 of us. I was the third of 5, and they ensured that we had a good education and to do that. So I got involved in LaGrange College, a small college. A friend asked me to serve on the board. Immediately became thrilled and enthralled with what the school was doing, how it relates to the community, the significance of the school, and the Servant Scholar program was kind of there, and it attracted me for a lot of reasons. Primary reason, I like the idea of servant scholar, and the idea that you can put the two together, have a servant mentality and be a scholar wasn't lost on me. So I became involved, got on the board, saw the quality of the students, fell in love with the students, where they came from and their backgrounds, and saw the opportunity the family did to participate. The uniqueness thing, not probably the uniqueness, is the students live together. The Callaway Foundation, which is a big benefactor in the range, had a Broad Street Apartments and decided to be a place that just the scholars would live. So the benefit of living, working on projects, and the concept that giving back to the community, that each student, each servant scholar is assigned a nonprofit to be involved with, to learn with, to grow with, to see the frustrations with, and to come through the program and come together was exciting to us. And I've never viewed this, or we've never viewed this as a gift. We viewed this as an investment in the future, an investment in more than a financial investment in the lives of the students who come. Many LaGrange students, or some, are first generation students, and many will go back into their communities. And now with this program and under the leadership of Jeff, who's this is his passion. Mr. Mayor is the right word for Jeff. 18 years. Don't ever have dinner with Jeff Lucan in LaGrange, Georgia. You will not be able to eat. Everybody will come up to you. Everybody will want to talk to Jeff, and guess what? Jeff talks to everybody. So, but his personal commitment and his personal involvement with the students is a critical matter. So that's the history, and I'd be glad to share anything more about it.
Well, it's a rich history, and clearly LaGrange, Georgia is the better for you having traveled there, and the fact that you're still traveling and walking amongst the citizens of LaGrange. I love also your reference to the fact of, putting servant and scholar together. This is from all of our research here, and Gabby and the team here, we've done a lot of research to see where we can find something that's, as rich and deeply involved as this particular program. I think this is the first of its kind in the country. And so we're curious, and folk over here in New Jersey are curious, Mr. Wilkinson, as you and others were making this enormous investment, as you put it, were there particular needs in the community that you hope the scholars might address or just learn about?
Well, I think it's more they determine. One of the things that I think is good about the program is the students are given a lot of their own decision making to do at an early age. In their passion, if they have a passion, whether it be a food bank, a church, a school system, whatever they would like to do would be encouraged. And it's just the investment was the educational side and the real world side, the real world of seeing and expand. LaGrange is like every other community. It has needs, and it has faults, and has things that can be corrected. So at a very early age to collectively go out and do things, and then come together to share in a common program, and to be taught by Jeff and others a program that it takes them from where they are to the time they graduate, where they're putting together the practical side of being with the nonprofit, plus the theoretical side of business and how to relate to people. So it was not as specifically targeted to any one thing. I am total believer, and do believe that public education and education is the key. It's the bridge. It's the great equalizer. In my case, I was able with a good education to compete nationally and otherwise. So anything to do with educating and open opportunities, was all for.
Excellent. And indeed, education is certainly the great equalizer, and has this magical way of bridging and bringing folk together. More profound words of wisdom from Mr. Wilkinson. I have to shift now over to my friend, Mr. Mayer. And Mr. Wilkinson did talk about the practical and theoretical sides or aspects of this fantastic program. If you would then expound upon the benefits of LaGrange College's the cohort model, again, building on Mr. Wilkinson's point about students actually doing this collectively, living together, learning together, serving together. Talk about that, if you would, particularly for our audience sake. The students do this over a 2-year period. So it's not a sort of one and done, and one project in and one project out. So Jeff, talk more about the benefits of this fantastic approach.
Right. Thank you, Reggie, for all you've done, and Gabby for putting this together. We appreciate that. I want to drift back to Jerry for a moment and talk about his involvement with the program. He's a special benefactor in the fact that he doesn't just give the money and leave us. He's there to give us guidance, his wisdom. He's there often socializing in their cookouts. The students love gathering around him, and he's always interested in each of them and what they're hoping to do in their career later. So we're very, very lucky to have his leadership. He's talked to us, Reggie, about this investment that he called it is like throwing out seeds, where our scholars help others understand the passion and the benefits of serving. So we're very, very lucky to have him guiding us and mentoring us in this program.
Mr. Mayor, did you say you put Mr. Wilkinson on grill duty? Is that something?
No, he's more valuable sitting in among all the scholars and sharing advice rather than outdoor in the grill, but we may bring him back out there one day. Benefits to the program, the live, work, learn environment. It really is the only one in the country we've seen that was dedicated to the benefits and the service to our community. It is a 2-year minors program. And Reggie, as you talked about, group projects can be difficult and frustrating, as anybody knows. Now imagine a group project that lasts for 2 years. The students understand the frustration of having to learn teamwork, collaboration, giving honest feedback to each other. They grow to respect each other and actually grow to love each other. They know each other's skill sets, they know each other's weaknesses, and they hold each other accountable. So it's really an incredible program that they've put together. For instance, Reggie, this just happened 2 weeks ago. We met early in the morning, and I asked the scholars to tell me about this plan they put together and what they were going to do. And they interrupted me and rolled in this giant whiteboard and showed me that the night before they'd all met late and put down different tasks, responsibilities, how they were holding each other accountable, set up the timelines. I had nothing to do with it, and the plan was so much better than anything I could advise them to do. They're just a very energized group that socialize with each other, swap advice and ideas. they get to know each other as a team, which makes the success of the projects so much better. Parker, Kenzie, have you got any thoughts about benefits to the live, work, learn environment?
Yeah, I certainly do. Kenzie and I are actually roommates, so that makes this really easy. But it also, I think Kenzie's going to touch on this too. It just fosters a really strong sense of community. When you live with the people that you work with, it also kind of extends your class time and the amount of time you have to collaborate, because like I remember at the beginning of last semester when we were planning for what our senior project has grown to be, I just run across the hall really quick to my friend JJ's room and we would just throw some things around. And so you build friendship by working together, which has been a really unique experience. And I've been very thankful that we live in the Broad Street apartments together, because I think if we didn't, we would not be as successful in the projects that we take on.
Yeah, and I have also had a bit of a unique experience in this as well, because I'm actually the resident advisor for Broad Street Apartments. So I technically am like employed by the college, but I still live over here and very much work as a servant scholar. So it's fun because like I do the little things like the lockouts and get people into their rooms at odd times of the night. But I also am just able to kind of, I guess really just the best part of it is being able to come together, like Professor Lucan just mentioned. We had a night where we were like, okay, we need to do this, this, and this. How about we meet together downstairs in 30 minutes? And it's really hard to do that if you're not already all in the same place. All we had to do is ride the elevator downstairs. So that just makes it so much more accommodating for us to be able to work together and serve together, and being in close proximity with each other, I guess, also makes a much stronger team, in my opinion. So
yeah, and I'm gonna add one more thing. We have to find time for our classes that work with everyone's schedules, and so usually it ends up being very early in the morning. So we have our classes on Monday and Tuesday at 6:50 a.m. Professor Lucan gets up bright and early almost every day of the week to come teach us, but all we have to do is ride down the elevator in our pajamas with a cup of coffee. And it takes a minute for the ideas to start flowing while we're waking up, but it's been amazing.
yeah, and we do that because a lot of times in the cohorts, there's usually a nursing and or education major. And because of that, they have classes or clinicals from like 7, 8 a.m. all the way to sometimes like 4:30 p.m. And then we also have lots of athletes because the majority of our campus is made up of student athletes. So in order to accommodate everyone, it usually does end up being sometime before 7 a.m. But we work together again collectively as a cohort to make that happen. So
fantastic. Now, both Parker and Kenzie have, for our audience, have been talking about the Broad Street apartments. I'm going to ask Jeff, our director, to say more about the significance of the Broad Street apartments, and sort of like what was it before it became the home of the Wilkinson Family Servant Scholars program, and what is it really right now? What does it do for the community of LaGrange?
Right. So as Jerry pointed out, they were kind of old, dilapidated apartments that the Callaway Foundation, the local benefactor here in LaGrange, purchased and then renovated. I think they spent $6 million to do that. Then they approached the college and said, what could you do with this gift if we gave it to you and the students? And the president of the college at the time said, we were trying to create an honors program, but it evolved into a leadership scholar program, a service organization. And he decided that our 24 students should live in the Broad Street apartments. And Reggie, as you know, because it's between the college and our downtown, it served a great purpose in connecting the town gown connection that we so desperately needed. So the scholars are close to downtown, but very close to the college campus. And I think I hope they feel very unique and special that they're in those apartments that are renovated and very, very beautiful.
And I can say, since have now visited LaGrange, Georgia, it's a beautiful, beautiful building, Mr. Wilkinson. It's obviously an investment and a gift to the entire community. Before I shift over to Gabby, Jeff, one more question to you, my friend. If you could, and I know this is, you've got many examples or many ways of probably answering this question, but if you could think of one example of a tangible impact within the community that has resulted from the work of the servant scholars, and I know you probably have a list of maybe 300 or so, but one that's particularly fresh in your mind or special to you.
Gosh, have I got a great answer for you. Parker and Kenzie, can you talk to us about your senior project? Let me preface this first. Reggie, if you will, junior year, all the scholars join the program. That's 12 juniors. And they get to choose between 25 nonprofit service sites around the community. It may be a poverty program. It may be a literacy program. It may be dealing with battered spousal abuse in a shelter. Mm-hmm. And each of the scholars will learn and spend 100 hours of volunteering for that site during the year. All 12 total will be over 1,200 hours. The entire program provides 3,600 hours every year to the community. But these scholars now learn about their piece of the needs of the community, and they come back and discuss it in the classroom. As juniors, they then begin to work on what their senior project might look like. And if you don't mind, may I impose on Parker and Kenzie to talk about their senior project for us?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about how we identified the need?
Yeah, absolutely. So for one, like Professor Lucan had said, our junior year, we are able to go out into lots of different areas in the community. A few of our members ended up working with kids in some capacity at their service sites. I was one of those. But that being said, that also exposes us to lots of different areas that may be a little bit more kind of in a higher poverty area of the community. And then we also did some research. We had some speakers that had come and talked to us, prominent community members, servant leaders in the community, and they came and spoke to us at classes, and they kind of shed some light on things that they have seen and worked with in their time here. And so we kind of kept finding a common theme of some needs in LaGrange's youth. And so that being said, we found some really disturbing and sad statistics actually, but one of those being that majority of teen pregnancy and really just honestly family abuse tends to happen between the hours of 3 and 5 p.m., which is right after school. So that was another thing that we kind of discovered, and then we decided to do the project that we came up with, if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, so I did not work with kids. I was at the Active Life, which is an older adult recreation center. It's really fun. I absolutely loved it. And that's kind of where my passion for advocacy was born, I would say. And so while I'm not I love kids, but Kenzie is she's very passionate about them. I think all of the cohort's interests were addressed and absolutely met with this project. The Boys and Girls Club in LaGrange it lost its charter years ago. So there has not been a affordable, reliable, and accessible after school program. Not one that's very strong, at least. Some schools have an after school program specifically that's internal, but it's not very strong. So we wanted to fill that gap and kind of address a lot of the different needs among the youth in LaGrange, like literacy rates, just character building, and giving them the attention that they might not get at home. We worked with the education department at the college. It's a very strong program with lots of really insightful professors. And one of them helped us by introducing this camp that they did a number of years ago called Learn to Serve. And we really liked that name. And in this camp, they did experiments and fun things that are specific to the LaGrange community that focus on service, learning, and all the things really that the Servant Scholar program is wanting to promote. So we decided to name our after school program Learn to Serve. And we started by being open to one school called Clearview Elementary School. And it's in the, I would say the lowest income part of LaGrange, because we wanted to, I guess, go in head first and really challenge ourselves. When we started in late February, well, let me backtrack. We ran into a number of challenges at the beginning of the year trying to get it started, because this idea was, we came up with this idea in what, like late junior year, I would say.
Yeah, so spring of last year.
Yeah. And then we tried to get the ball rolling in August and September. Professor Lucan, myself, and two other servant scholars in the senior cohort went and met with a bunch of people from the county and the city, like the current mayor, and we kind of asked for some money to see if we could hire a director for the program, and they didn't say no, but they didn't say yes, and so we have not seen much financial support from them. But they have supported us by giving us buses, by letting us talk to the schools. The superintendent of the Troup County school system is very much behind us and what we're doing. But still challenges were faced, and we didn't end up opening until late February. But when we did, it was really great. We were able to use a old elementary school. This elementary school closed years ago. It's called Whitesville Road Elementary School, and we just used the building. It has a big gym and 4 classrooms, so that was perfect for what we were wanting. We started off with 3 kids, and now we're up to 15, which doesn't seem enormous, but let me tell you, those kids are energetic, and so 15 feels like 50.
Yeah.
And it's just been really awesome to get to know these kids and to see their specific needs. So it's kind of like we identified the big need in the community, and now we've focused in on the individual needs of the students, and that to me is where I feel like I can really make an impact.
Yeah, and because of our program that we have started, it kind of falls under the umbrella of something that we call the Pillar Project, and that is because we have 5 pillars upon which the college is really founded on, and one of those is service. And from around really 2020 was whenever it seemed like community service kind of became less available to students on campus. And so a big part of our project has been getting LaGrange College involved in the community at large. And we've been able to do that through Learn to Serve. We've had students from the college come volunteer. Education volunteers are able to get hours for their major and be able to work with kids. So yeah, it's kind of been like killing 2 birds with one stone, addressing a need that we see in the community, but also being able to plug the students on campus into those as well.
Fantastic. Love the concept of Learn to Serve. Fantastic.
Reggie, the community now is using our model to hopefully springboard into rebuilding the Boys and Girls Club here.
Wonderful.
From the model and the momentum that the students have created with their Learn to Serve after school club.
Fantastic. Look at that. So I would imagine, young ladies, that folk will be talking about your good work for many, many years to come. So congrats on what you've managed to accomplish. And I know it may have felt like a long year and a half, but that's actually a very short amount of time to pull off what you've done. Usually change doesn't move quite so quickly as our former mayor can attest. And as a former city administrator, I can tell you change usually takes a long time. I am being nudged to now, share this microphone with my colleague and our project manager here, Gabby Cooper. So Gabby's going to pick it up and continue the remainder of the questions before we open it up for our audience for the Q&A. Gabby.
Thank you, Reggie. So I just want to say too that what you're providing to these students that are coming to this program is invaluable, and it's just so amazing to hear about the great work that you're doing. So thank you for what you're doing down there. So this question goes to you, Parker and Kenzie. How do you plan to take what you've learned about servant leadership and serving the LaGrange community into your future careers and endeavors?
Can I start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I am planning to become a child life specialist, and pretty much the entire point of that job is to advocate for the kids that I am helping. And part of that is knowing them and knowing where they're at so I can help meet their needs. And something that I've learned in this program is that it's really not about what you think they need. You need to ask. You need to find out what they need and address that rather than just be like, oh, yeah, well, I can bring food today. That's not really helping anyone if that's not what they actually need. And so I plan to do that in my career and just ask, kind of who they are, what they need, and what's important to them. So that's definitely something that I'll take with me.
Yeah. Something very similar for me. I am hoping to go to law school and become a lawyer. And the reason I want to do that is because I really do have a passion for advocacy. And that's something I didn't realize until I was in this program. I would kind of just decided to be a political science major, and I was like, well, okay, we'll see what I'm gonna do with this when I'm a senior. But really, since last year, my mind has been made up that I want to go to law school and I want to be able to advocate for people. And the primary lesson I've learned in this program is that advocacy doesn't really mean anything, and you can't be a strong advocate if you don't listen to the people you are advocating for. And empathy is very important. Being able to feel and understand what the people that you're serving need, what they want, and what their hopes and dreams are. That's the only way, in my opinion, that you can be a successful, strong advocate.
Certainly. And listening for empathy and understanding, like you said, is so important. And we need that in our society today, which leads us into our last question, which I would like everyone to have put input on. So we'll start with you, Mr. Wilkinson. So whether in LaGrange or in communities around the country, people are not feeling the most hopeful about the times that we're in with all this uncertainty. So where might people draw strength and hope and optimism for the future?
Great question. And yes, there is great uncertainty. I think one thing that is not obvious to people is when you're giving and serving, that's when you get the rewards. And the other thing that I think that do what you can do when you can do it. And take your environment, take your situation, whatever it is, and accept it and give thanks for it. And then to go from there. But the idea of loving your neighbor, taking care of your neighbor, giving people opportunities, feeding people, understanding some of the issues with the pregnancies that the young ladies, taking care of people. I think when you come together, you have with a common bond, and the bond is in this case is serving, and that I think there's nothing purer than feeding the hungry. The idea that we have hungry people, and I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, that aren't getting enough food. So the food banks. So I think, you don't ignore the noise that's going on. It affects you, however you define the noise, but you move on and you don't become stalled and stagnant and do nothing or wait for somebody else to do it. So that would be, I guess what would you do? I'd get involved with something like a Servant Scholar program.
Wonderful. So, Jeff, would you like to put input for this?
Sure, and I certainly understand the frustration and disappointment that people think about the direction the world's going in. But gosh, Gabby, I would love to have anybody come visit us for one class in the morning. These scholars are just so inspiring. They're compassionate, they're intelligent, they have a strong faith in God. They truly are motivated to create a better world. Our scholars come from so many different environments and different perspectives, but they all are motivated to improve the lot of those in need. I just can't say enough about who they are. They walk the walk. They don't just talk about it. They roll their sleeves up and make things happen. I'm inspired every morning.
They certainly do. Yeah. Parker and Kenzie, how about you guys?
Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So, I completely agree with both of them. I know from my personal experience that serving my community has been the most fulfilling thing I think I've ever done, especially during my time at LaGrange College. And this is silly, but I watched a YouTube video at the beginning of last year.
Mhm.
And it was a psychologist, and she had done this study that showed a really strong correlation between serving your neighbor and your happiness. And so when you serve more and you pour into others, you are happier. And I have absolutely experienced that. And because I'm a political science major, I do understand the frustrations that people face right now. And that goes beyond politics as well. But like both of them said, I think getting involved in your community beyond just voting and beyond going to a protest or putting a sign in your yard for a specific candidate in an election, just getting boots on the ground, getting your hands dirty, and doing the work to serve. I know that does have very positive impacts.
Absolutely. And something that I don't really know honestly where I picked this up from, but I heard it one day and it's just kind of stuck with me ever since. But something I tend to say a lot now is that you can't change the world until you change your world first. And I think that is really honestly a huge part of the mission of our program, is that we are trying to actively make an impact in our community around us, because that is going to have a chain reaction. Our community, and then the community down the road, and then across Georgia, and then across the nation. So impact can start very small, and I think that is something that sometimes can get discounted, even when it comes to like voting. I know a lot of people don't vote because they're like, well, my one vote doesn't matter. But not only does your vote matter, but your voice matters. Your service to others matters. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think that a way to kind of foster hope and real change is to start trying to change the world around you before you change the world outside of your community.
Yeah, as someone who is feeling the uncertainty of everything going on in the world right now, you guys just talking with you today has given me hope, and what you're doing within your community. So thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to switch to a few questions that were submitted by the audience. We have an audience member who's curious, Kenzie and Parker, about who is going to run the program that you guys are working with after you're graduating. Because you're graduating very soon, right?
We are.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to
Yeah, you
touch
can
on that?
start.
So this has been a topic that we cannot really come to a conclusion about yet, but we definitely have a plan for sustainability, and that is to hire a director that can be at Learn to Serve every day, that can hire staff members to be there and like be what we are currently, fill the spot of volunteers. We are working with local organizations, specifically the Optimist Club, and they have agreed to give us some funding to support our program. And our hope is to get catch the interest of the Boys and Girls Club of America. And so in order for them to reinstate the charter for the LaGrange Boys and Girls Club, that's our ultimate goal. And I think that would be the ultimate form of sustainability. And we would really maximize our impact if that is able to happen.
Yeah, and one of the immediate, I guess, steps that you could say that we are taking towards that is that we do have a couple scholars who are planning to help volunteer, at least for now, throughout the summer to kind of help keep it going so that it's not like, we've had Learn to Serve and then there's like no word of it until August, and then they're all trying to figure out how to funnel back into it. So that is one way we're trying to keep it sustainable for now until a director is hired. So.
Well, I have no doubt that you guys will be successful, and I wish you luck in that search for the director.
Thank you.
Another question about the program. What are the specifics of the program? Are you guys teaching life skills or scholastic endeavors? What are you guys doing with the kids that you're working with?
Yeah, so we pretty much have like a routine now. It took us a minute to find that just because for one, it was new to us, but for two, we started, like we said, with like 2 or 3 kids. Now we have up to 15. So it took a lot of adjusting. But that being said, they usually come in and that's when they have kind of a brain break. And they'll have like their snack time and we talk about like what happened at school that day and all that good stuff. And then afterwards we do homework help first. So I mean, that could be literally anything like from math to reading to whatever. And after that, we have some different type of, I guess, socialization, factors that we put into the program. So like we have different brain games, I guess you could say, that we do. I know we have a list on our board actually in there right now that the kids helped write, but it's called banned words. And so like that's part of our character development is that they wrote the list. So they know like what's acceptable and what's not when it comes to how we talk to each other and treat each other. So we've seen a lot of character development. That I think that's a big focus of ours, I would say, is character development and for sure scholastics.
Yeah, Kinsey is really great with the kids. She came in one day last week and she just asked everyone who their favorite music artist was and what their favorite songs were. And that to me is so such a strong thing to get to know the kids. Getting to know them really opens the door for us to start helping them build strong character. And I think that the character building, our original plan was to implement some programming that was very strong character development, but that's been difficult. And I think we've resorted to doing it on an individual level. So if we see some inappropriate behavior, we'll kindly correct it. I know I've had to be very patient, try to explain why what they said or what they did was hurtful. And we've seen huge changes, especially in one student. She has a fiery personality. She says things that could be hurtful to other people, but she has toned it down a lot and she's become a lot kinder. Which has been monumental, and it has really encouraged me to keep going and pouring into these kids on the individual level.
Certainly. Wow. And it sounds like what's so great is that you're doing this in a fun way. So these kids are coming from school where they probably wish that they were being able to go home, but you're still being able to provide them with this homework help and stuff, but in a fun way that like lets them let loose a little bit after coming out of school all day. It's so wonderful. So we have another question. How do you plan to take what you've learned? Oh, sorry. We did that one already. All right, let me continue. Servant leadership has been described as a difficult approach to learning, managing, and supporting others. How can we make it more attractive for those already facing so many challenges on a day-to-day basis? And this can go to you, Kenzie or Parker, or Mr. Wilkinson or Jeff, if you want to chime in.
Ladies, y'all are on a roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
So something that I've learned is as far as servant leadership goes, there's a model that I see in my head. And instead of it being like a traditional pyramid where you like start with kind of like the big boss up top and then it works its way down, it's flipped. And so it's really like the heart of the program that you're in or the foundation that you're a part of, whatever it may be, is there at the top. And so like all of the people within the organization that sometimes may be the ones doing the grunt work. And that's why sometimes servant leadership may not seem very attractive to everyone. But I think that just really flipping your perspective to, again, like we talked about multiple times already, listening to those that you're serving alongside and those that you are actively serving for, it makes a big difference. And also part of that listening is like understanding that everyone has different passions. Like that was part of our discussion when coming up with our senior project was, what does everybody want to do? What are all the different passions that we have? And like she said, it ended up being this after school program for the youth. And like, I love kids, but her passions were met in a different way.
Mhm.
So being able to just kind of allow people to advocate for themselves and taking the opportunity to help them advocate for themselves is a big deal, I would say.
Yeah, I think she really answered that question very well. But I think specifically to make servant leadership more attractive to younger people, because I feel like that's where the deficit really is, would be to highlight the community that servant leadership cultivates. It just, I think not having a community and loneliness is like one of the biggest problems that plagues young people today. And one way to overcome that and to feel supported is to support others and to join a cause that's bigger than yourself. That to me has made me feel so supported. And like I really do belong to a community.
Jeff or Mr. Wilkinson? If not, we have time for one more question that was submitted.
Sitting here listening to both of them like a proud father.
Well,
I hope I hope Jerry is pleased with their answers and
Totally pleased.
y'all are just awesome.
Nothing I can say.
Unbelievable. Thank you. If we have time for another, Gabby, another
yeah,
question.
we have one more that was submitted, and I think it goes off of what Kenzie was saying. So the inverted pyramid is a great way to view servant leadership. Is this something that you are teaching to the kids and the community members that you're working with?
You want to start?
Yeah. I don't think it's something that we're explicitly teaching them, because these kids, I don't think it's really hard to understand how challenging it is to work with kids until you're actually there and swarmed by 15 of them. And they're so much fun, but they don't listen very well. And so I think the approach that we've taken over the past couple of months is to model that. And I think that's also the most effective way to do it, because if you tell somebody you have to put yourself at the bottom, they're automatically gonna think, no, I'm not doing that. But then they might come around to it eventually. But if you showcase that yourself, then they're gonna want to take after you.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was about to say, is that as far as like the umbrella of the Pillar Project and us getting the campus involved in service, the best way, in my opinion, to teach something is to model it yourself first and kind of lead by example, which is another big part of our program. And that being said, like that's something that I think we've done well as far as when we do have some students come and volunteer, whether it's at Learn to Serve or at one of our service sites or any service initiative that we have going on. It makes a big difference whenever they can feel your passion for it and they can feel that they are important, and that their service in that particular project matters. And so again, I think that Parker hit the nail on the head. Like it's a great tool to have, but it really doesn't matter if you show them the pyramid or not if you're not modeling it yourself first.
Yeah.
Certainly. Yeah, I love that modeling it is the way to go. When I first learned about servant leadership, the first thing that ran through my head was, who in my life has modeled this? And I didn't have the language to define what this was that they were modeling, and now I do. So I want to say thank you so, so much to Mr. Wilkinson, Jeff, Parker, and Kenzie. Before we go, we have a quick announcements for the center. So I'm going to share before we wrap up.
And as Gabby's bringing up the slides, I want to echo her many thanks to you, Mr. Wilkinson, Jeff, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure you're a mayor emeritus, right? Something like that. And if you're not, let me sign that petition. And certainly Parker and Kinsey, you know, I'm beaming like Jeff. You make us proud here at the Greenleaf Center for Servant Leadership, and I hope that you stay in touch with us as you evolve in your wonderful pursuits, both professionally and academically. Thank you for all that you're doing for the LaGrange community. Gabby?
Okay, so first, our Foundations of Servant Leadership course that starts in May is open for registration. You can access registration through the QR code here. It's also linked to our homepage at greenleaf.org. We'd like to invite you to our next Coffee With webinar with founder and CEO of Antheon, Marie Gill, where we'll be talking about creating flourishing environments in times of uncertainty. Next, our Greenleaf Scholars applications are open and due this Friday, April 25th. To learn about if you qualify or how to submit an application, you can use the QR code on the screen here, and it's also linked to our homepage at greenleaf.org. Our 4th annual Servant Leader Hall of Fame nominations are open. This award ceremony honors local and national servant leaders as well as servant-led organizations. So if there's someone that you would like to nominate, our nomination criteria and instructions are on our homepage at greenleaf.org. Lastly, if you would like to stay connected with the Greenleaf Center, you can follow us and connect with us on these platforms here. And to everybody that joined us in the audience, thank you so, so much for joining us today. There will be a brief Zoom survey that pops up. If you could complete that, we would really appreciate it. We use that feedback to improve these webinars and have a even greater time with our next guests. But we certainly had an amazing time with all of you today. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Gabby. Thank you, Reggie.
Thank you. Take good
Thank you
care,
so much.
everybody.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Take care.